two and kind of like integrate, but I have done it like pretty much right away.
You bottle
You
it?
bottle it.
An hour old?
Yeah, I have. Uh-huh. Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Do you normally wait longer, like
Overnight.
a day or
I
two?
go overnight.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's perfectly fine and like um yeah, but I've just gone from experience, it's like I'm teaching this class tomorrow, you know. Actually the soda that we have is like I started yesterday, you know. And yeah, and at the same time I bottled it right away
And like
and
you
it
said,
didn't
depends on the
catch.
temperatures too,
And
yeah.
so then I had to like reprime it this morning. But it's already like super carbonated. Yeah, great. I'm not sure what those are, but these are the sodas.
Those are beer.
Yeah. Okay, so basically what I did was I made ginger, juniper, vanilla tea, you know, in like an hour. You know, I like cut up a bunch of ginger, threw in 10 juniper berries, and like 5 vanilla pods.
Fresh ginger, right?
Fresh ginger, exactly.
Yeah.
Uh-huh, like about a cup. Fresh ginger chopped on the rounds in a gallon of liquid with 10 juniper berries that I got from Travertine Hot Springs. Anybody's been there? On the eastern side of the Sierra. And then vanilla that's from our friend Alexis and her place in Dominica. And
like a vanilla pod.
the actual beans, yeah. So I made a tea, and then I added sweetness to that tea. And so that's another difference between soda and mead, whereas a good soda, I've been playing with it, you can go down as far as like a cup to a gallon, but really I'm feeling like more to like really have it the sweetness of soda and still not like super sweet like normal soda. Like a cup and a half of honey per gallon is really about the ratio. If you're going to use sugar, which is very much a viable thing too, you can use less because sugar is more concentrated, and a cup of sugar or a cup and a quarter of sugar is probably plenty per gallon. But like I'd say like a cup and a half of honey per gallon.
That's mostly what you use for sweeteners, honey?
I've been really doing, yeah, just in general, I just like honey as a sweetener better than cane sugar, but I've definitely done both, you know, just to kind of play around with it. And honey is going to have its own flavor. So then once again, I'll just cool it down and add that culture in there. And as I was saying, I've done it in as little as just let it kind of get integrated over an hour or two, probably more like closer to 2 hours, and then bottle it right away. And then it's going to start working, and it's going to create some pressure. And one thing about bottling it sooner is that there's going to be like practically no alcohol. Can't say there's going to be absolutely no alcohol because we know that the magic of this is that there's sugar that this culture converts into CO2 and alcohol. But because you bottled it so quickly, it's only a very little bit that could possibly be created. And you know, if you leave it overnight, that's still going to be very little bit. And so that's the major difference, is that you're bottling it right away rather than waiting for a couple few weeks. And then it gets carbonated, but you kind of got to watch it, you know, because it will like get to the point that it will explode. Like there's no doubt about it, you know, because you only have like about 3 or 4% sweetness in there, but like it's going to eat all of that, you know. One way that you can control that is by using a wild culture, which is going to tend to make less use of that sugar as using an aggressive culture like this. And I have the recipe there for using a wild culture, where basically you take a little bit of ginger and sugar, and then you like let it sit, you know, and expose to the air. Yeah, so that's a bug. And an old way to make soda is you basically have this, you know, say a 1 cup mason jar or a pint mason jar with some ginger and some sweet liquid with like a cheesecloth or, you know, towel over it or paper towel or something, so that the wild culture that's in the air will start to eat that sugar, and then you introduce that to your 1 gallon of sweet liquid. And that wild culture tends to take more like a week or maybe 2 weeks to get the carbonation that you would get from just like a day or two from this. And the only thing with that is that wild culture can still, depending on its particular strain, like make stuff explode. And I feel like I'm much less likely to forget stuff if I'm just doing it in a 2-day process versus like over a week or two of process. And so pretty serious stuff, like somebody's put an eye out with this, you know, it's like something not to forget, you know, that there are like, you know, the practicalities of physics involved that you really can't escape. So things that I do around that is that I always will put this stuff in a container and like have it covered, so in case it does start exploding, then at least it's going to keep it localized. Because like literally, like one of our friends had shards of glass like all over the house, you know, because it was just sitting on the table there. Another thing that you can do is put it into a 2-liter plastic, you know, soda container, and that's not going to explode glass.
You can feel those, like when they get harder.
You're right, exactly. You just feel the tension on it. But something to say is like once you have it to the level of carbonation that you want, you can put it in the refrigerator, and that's going to make them go to sleep, and they're not going to make it any more carbed. So that's a way to stop the process once you get it to the place where you want it.
Did you say how much you use per gallon?
Once again, it's about the same, you know, like a fifth of the package to the gallon, you know. But if you were going to bottle it right away in like an hour or two, then you might add the whole package. You know, that's something that, you know, by letting it stay overnight, it kind of reproduces naturally of its own accord. But if you're putting it individually into bottles, you want to make sure there's a critical mass of it in each one of those bottles.
Do you put it in a fermenter at all? Or do you just boil it out of the brew pot?
Yeah, I definitely just put it out of the brew pot before, you know, and I put it in the fermenter for a day, like you were saying before too, but I've definitely done it at its simplest, like literally just a pot like that, a gallon of liquid with whatever kind of tea, or just like straight sweetener, pitch the culture into there, and then bottle it like with one of these things right out of that, you know, at its simplest. And then of course there's like these little penguin things now that you can make soda water out of. You know, so if you wanted to for sure absolutely have no alcohol, then you can either do that or you can get like soda water, you know, at the store and then add like a syrup, you know, basically to that soda water, but still use, you know, your yerba mansa and your, you know, the and OSHA and all that stuff. So, you know, even if you don't want to go through the whole fermenting process, you can still make a super yummy soda you'll never find at the store.
Can we take care of that?
Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's like, just,
Is there a nutritional difference between making a ginger bud or adding yeast? Like, do you get more enzymes, or is there anything?
I don't think so, you know, because it's basically the same species. It's just like Turl was saying, a varietal that is local to your particular area. And I'm sure there's like, if nothing else, subtle energetic things and that sort of deal. But as far as like the actual nutritional difference, I'm not sure. That there probably wouldn't be that much.
Is there enzymes that does it make enzymes?
Um,
Or what is
I
it?
can't really say specifically
Is it
about
just
that.
the herbs that you're getting the herbs in soda form? It's not really
Exactly.
probiotic or anything.
Well, there would be, I guess, to a certain degree, although I don't know the probiotic effects of this versus, say, lactobacillus and other cultures that are in yogurt and sauerkrauts and kimchis, and I definitely don't think of this as much in the probiotic field as other fermented goods.
Like in kombucha.
Like kombucha, yeah, which is another lactobacillus as well as other things
Or the water.
mixed in, water kefir, you know, in its own culture. And sometimes, maybe something that I'll offer in a few weeks when I teach with Daniel Nicholson, or certainly when I come back in the fall, is like a fermentation intensive, where we actually have this as like an afternoon evening component, but we start in the morning, and then we have like, you know, sauerkrauts and kimchis, and talk about miso and tempeh and, you know, all that, because it's a pretty wide world of fermentation, but there's a lot of overlap. And so once you've kind of entered into one room of it, it's kind of intriguing to kind of figure out what other rooms are out there. And I can't say enough about Sandra Katz's book back there, Wild Fermentation, which is like kind of the modern Bible, and a new one he's going to be publishing this summer will be out. That is a collective of his experience of doing workshops like this all over the country for the last 10 years. That really just gives you that wide scope from Africa to Asia, South America, and everywhere in between, because every single indigenous culture in the world has figured out if you have sweet liquid, it's going to naturally make alcohol, and then they've also integrated some kind of probiotic fermented food into their diet as well. So it's definitely like a kind of reclaiming of this essential core heritage that we all have as humans to bring this process back into our life. So the soda, really simple. I don't think there's that much more to say other than get thick bottles if you can with these flip top caps on them, and keep a watchful eye on them once they're in the bottles so that you don't overcarbonate them. And like it takes a lot. You can see, like, I mean, I've been releasing a lot of pressure off of this, so you really have to like let it go for quite a while before it's actually going to make something explode. Like you'd have to leave probably for months. But that being said, like if it was hotter too, it's gonna like act a lot faster as well. So if you try to do this in the summer,
Or if you
it'd
leave
be a
it
whole
in a
different deal.
Parked car and
Whole
stuff.
different deal than
Oh my
in the
gosh.
winter. Might be done in less than a day or something even. So